Front hub here is 73. Rear hub here is 216. So those are really pretty light hubs. Measuring two rims here. 875, 876. So I'm going to show you what I put in the with the wheels. Carbon wheels get brake pads, skewers, and one each of the 3 different length spokes. Here are the skewers. These are really lightweight, 10.1 grams for both the front and rear. Start on the rear wheel, and with carbon wheels, I always use a special method. I take this nipple, thread it onto the spoke, and then when I put it in, I thread it on until I bottom it out, so that all of the nipples are threaded on an equal amount. This is across 2 on the drive side, so there's head down spoke. This is the second head up spoke, and it goes right into the, you skip a hole, it goes into the second hole to the right of the first. After you do enough of these, you kind of know exactly where they are, so you don't really have to look. And with all carbon wheels, I try and make sure the spoke is pointed right at the threader here, so that you don't have an issue with the spokes not threading on easily. And you know, the non-drive side rear wheels, I always use a radial, unless it's a disc wheel, then it's a 2-cross. And incidentally, these are wheels for Steve. One of the things I've thought about doing, since business had slowed, the whole bike industry is slow right now, is offering customers a video of me building their wheels. These are Steve's, and the video is going to be fairly short. It'll just be a kind of a little edited part of each part of the process. But I think it's kind of neat if you can see actually the parts and the building process itself. It's kind of neat. And I do this obviously anyway. All the wheels are custom built. So now we start on the front wheel. The front wheel, if they're not disc brake, I do it radial spoking, so they all come straight out from the hub. And I do this for 2 reasons. First of all, it's a shorter spoke, so it's going to be lighter. Not a lot, but it will be lighter. And it's also a better bracing angle for the spoke, for a little bit of, you know, and again, this is nothing major, but it's a little bit of extra stiffness. And if you can get it for free, you know, less weight and stiffer wheel is a good thing. And also, and this is probably the most important reason, I think it looks cooler. You know, you see the spoke heads coming out from the hub, and it just gives it a better appearance. Actually, if you wanted to do it just for performance, you would put the spoke head facing inward instead of outward, because it would give you a tiny bit more bracing angle again. And again, when you do a lot of these wheels, you don't really have to look for the hole. You kind of know where it is, so you just feel it with your finger. Now we go into the tensioning phase. These spokes are still loose. So the first thing we do is put lubricant on the nipple. Now I had to go around and go around again, but now there it seems as though they're almost under tension. Every spoke has a tiny amount of tension. So I'm going to go around and do the non-drive. I'm going to do these two. And then after I do that, I'm going to check to make sure that the spokes all have some tension on them, that there are no loose spokes. That's the best way to put it. So I've done it with all of them. First I'm going to check the drive side, and I do that by plucking them with my thumbnail. There's you can see that is under tension, but not much. But so that's it. Now notice right now I have not made any attempt to true the wheel. But we're going to take a look at how true the wheel is. Now you can see, even though I haven't made any attempt to true the wheel, it's pretty true. Get it around here a little bit more like that. Maybe you can see it better. And that's because of the way I threaded on the nipples all the same amount. So now the next step is to go in and just clean up a little bit of the lateral, although I probably don't even need to do it, and then start on a radial pruning. Okay, all the spokes have some tension. I'm going to start on the radial. And you can probably see it. The 0 mark I have is right here. And with a full revolution, I only have about 10 thousandths of it being out. And my goal right now is to get it within 5 thousandths. So here I'm going to adjust 2 spokes. That one and this one. Just a tiny bit of that drive side spoke just made it jump all the way over. Okay, that's 5 thousandths out. So I'm going to try and I never want to go all the way to the 0 mark. If I do occasionally, that's all right. But when you adjust the spoke in one spot, it adjusts all the spokes, and most importantly, the spokes opposite. And sometimes you'll see, I can't really see what I'm doing here. All I'm doing is looking at the dial indicator. And the little tiny quick dial movements are from the rim. It's a mold, and they're not perfect. So here we're within 5 thousandths, mostly within 2 or 3 thousandths. There's one where we're at 5 thousandths. But you're going to find if you try and get it and I'm turning the nipple about 1/8 of a turn. So that's close. That's about as good as you want to get it. So right now, that's all of the radial adjustment I'm going to do, period. Now I'm not trying to center the rim. I'm just looking at the amount of play laterally. So I'm looking at the left. And that's within a few thousandths right there. So the next thing I'm going to do, and notice all of these I do in a sequence. Next thing I'm going to do is tighten the drive side spoke tension to the target amount. And with a CX ray, the drive side spoke should be at 15 on the part tensiometer. That gets them to 130 kgf, which is the max recommended for this rim. Okay, so I'm going to take a measurement on this, and it's almost under no tension. The reading here is 5, or closer to 0 really. Should clean this up so I can read it. So, based upon my experience, it's probably going to take 3 turns on the drive side spokes. You always want to make sure that the blade is in the right direction, this way. And a lot of people use a tool to hold the blade when you have a CX-ray spoke. I never have. I found it just as easy to go over and back it off. Now we're getting right about to the point where I'm going to get in my big spoke driver, nipple driver. What we would do if we had, I can't turn my spoke wrench and talk at the same time. If you have one of those that's really not cooperating, I would take the spoke out and rethread it on my fill wood tool. It's almost always the spoke, not the nipple. Okay, let's see what the tension is on the drive side spokes. I think it's going to be right about 15. Exactly 15. 15. People go and they measure all their spokes. If your spoke is radially right, the spoke tension is going to be real close. You can hear the notes are all pretty close. So now that we're almost done, except that I need to center the rim. And the rim is off center about, I would say a half a turn. So what I'm going to do is take a half a turn off the non-drive side. And see where that leaves me with regard to center and drive side spoke tension. You don't want to really go above the max on carbon rim. You can, I'm sure you can, but you know, I always like to stay real close to what they say is their max. Okay, that looks like it pretty much centers it almost perfectly. Let's see what the spoke tension is. Yeah, still pretty close to 15, so 14, 15, 14, 14. So in this case, I'm going to take a little bit of less drive side spoke tension. And rather than to try to get it up to the highest recommended. And I'll show you here, I'm off maybe show you. Okay, you can see that, the lateral and the radial. Well, that lateral is probably within a couple of thousandths, and the radial is probably still about 5 thousandths. So that's a straight wheel. Okay, this is the front wheel. I've taken all the looseness out of the spokes, so they're all under a tiny amount of tension. And you can see how true the wheel is, even though I haven't touched it to try and true it. The lateral is almost dead on, and even the radial is real close. So again, on a front wheel, you don't have to worry about drive side, non-drive side, since the spokes are all the same length and centered. So what you're really trying to do right now is just, I'm not going to touch the lateral. I'm just going to get the radial into 5 thousandths or less. You can see how important getting the nipples threaded on the same amount. Of course, if you didn't do it, you could certainly build the wheel just as well. It just would take more time. So what that does is it really saves time. So I've got here a total run out from 0 is here to 10 here, 15 here. So I'm gonna have to do both sides. Okay, now I don't want to go to 0. I want to go about halfway. That's still at 10. So I'm going to go close to 5 on that. That's 10. I'm going to go close to 5 on that. Now notice my 0 has changed. I don't go down to 0 on any of them now. So I'm going to change my 0 point to here by adjusting this arm. Now that's 0. And you can see I'm well within 5/1000ths radial. So that's it. That's all my radial truing, period. Now what I'm going to do is my lateral truing, which won't take long. Again, the reason why this is so fast is this is only going to take, you know, a few minutes at the most. Tighten one side to loosen the other side. And I'm probably within 3/1000ths for most of this wheel. Loosen. Another one of those crackers. That's real close. Now they're not under any tension. I want to do all of my truing under the lowest possible tension. I'll show it to you. Forget about the radial for now. But you can see that lateral is real close. I'm going to take it up 2. And I don't have to worry about sides, so I can just do all the spokes this time. I don't have to go up one side then the other side. Let's see how that one comes out. As you can see, when you get, especially on carbon rims, when you get up to high tension on the spokes, you can be really exerting a lot of force. That looks pretty good. Let's see where I am. 15. 14. 15. 0. 14. 15. So that's real close. Now, what I normally do show you how far out this is. Spot right there. And what I always do at the very last part of truing, since it's really up to tension, I loosen the tight spoke. I never tighten a loose spoke. So in other words, if the rimmer's off this way, I will loosen a spoke on that side. And the reason for that is that real tight one. The reason for that is you want to avoid any wind-up that you can't take out. if I were to tighten a little spoke, then I would have to play with it to figure out exactly how much to unwind it. Whereas with this, since you're unwinding, you don't have to worry about over tightening. And that's pretty much dead on. So now that everything is dead straight and everything, one time and one time only, I stress the spokes. And what this does is, when you build a wheel, there are stresses that accumulate between the spokes and nipples in the hub. And this pushes them over their limit and essentially relaxes the wheel. And the effect of that is the wheel will stay straighter a lot longer if you've there's a name for it and I keep forgetting it. It's over the yield point of the spokes. And then check it again for it hasn't moved. And right now I always check to make sure the hub is in the center, and then I double check it. Next I'll just put on the light tighten, and that's it. Ready to go. Now the final thing we do is put on the Loctite. Got some on here now. It's Loctite 242, and it when you spin the wheel, it migrates down into the threads. It's one of the reasons you don't want to put in too much oil before the build, because the oil will keep some of the Loctite out. This is Windex. It says clean shower, but it's not a clean shower. It's Windex in a clean shower bottle. You see this wiping cloth has seen a lot of Loctite. When I first started doing this, Loctite was really expensive. It was like $40 for a quarter of that or less. And now I think that big bottle is $20. Kind of like super glue used to be super expensive, and now it's dirt cheap. That's it.